So, I have a love-hate relationship with Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker. And no, it's not because it's a bad movie. I actually like the movie overall. I just don't like what they did to Tim Drake's character. But before we get to that, let's start off with how we got here. Starting with the man of the hour, or if you're being more literal, boy of the hour, Tim Drake. Now, if you don't know who Tim Drake is, in the comics he's the third Robin, coming after Dick Grayson and Jason Todd. But in the DCAU, he was originally the second Robin until Jason Todd got retconned through a recent comic series, eventually making Tim the third Robin again. Now, if you watch the animated series and later the new Batman adventures, then you know that Tim Drake's origin story in the DCAU is very similar to Jason Todd's. From being a street kid to having a run-in with Two-Face to even their encounter with the Joker. I think it's safe to say that Tim Drake was supposed to be the DCAU's Jason Todd. The only problem that I have with that is, why not just use Jason Todd? Growing up watching the animated series, when the show revamped to the new Batman adventures, I was a big fan of the redesign. I absolutely loved it. From the darker tones to the darker themes. I even loved the new designs for the characters. Well, some of the new characters. And one of my favorite characters to come from the show was in fact Tim Drake. He had the smarts, the skills, and the personality that, for me, was even better than Dick Grayson. From his willingness to help others to his eventual takedown of a rogue Batman, over the course of the season, Tim showed that he had what it takes to be Robin. Now, with me being unbiased, I can admit that Tim also showed signs that he wasn't fit to be Robin. From him not being able to control his anger at times, to him consistently getting captured by low-level jobbers. And to me, during these times, his age showed. Whereas in the original animated series, outside of Robin's reckoning, you really didn't have these problems with the first Robin. And going back to Tim, I think that these shortcomings made him the perfect victim for the Joker. And with that being said, let's get into Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker. In this film, Joker returns to the future with a new gang in hopes of destroying Gotham. And at first, Bruce doesn't believe it, due to a certain event happening sometime after the show's season ended. One night while Tim was patrolling by himself, he tried to stop a simple mugging. But it turns out that it was Harley in disguise, and she caught him off guard and knocked him out cold, which led to his disappearance. And after weeks of Bruce and Barbara searching for him, the Joker sent them an invitation to come to Arkham. It turns out that the Joker spent weeks torturing him and molding his mind so that he can become a miniature Joker himself. You see, what led to Tim's downfall in the DCAU was actually there from the beginning. His nightly solo patrols eventually caught up to him. All it took was someone with a well thought out plan to eventually get him. And like I mentioned earlier, to me, Tim's personality was better than Dick Grayson's. But that doesn't mean that he was the most skilled. I think that Dick Grayson wins in that category, because if we're being honest, a situation like this would have never happened to him. And while the Joker was eventually unalived by Tim, the damage had already been done. It was revealed that it took Leslie Tompkins almost a year to cure Tim, and after he was cured, Bruce fired him from being his partner, which led to the two falling out and not being on speaking terms. Now, it was stated that Tim tried to have a solo career, but it didn't get him far, as he eventually quit and became an engineer. And to take it a step further, as we fast forward to the future, we find out that the Joker was still in Tim Drake subconsciously, leading to Tim Drake turning into the Joker without him even knowing it, which eventually causes Terry to have to fix the Joker situation and right the wrongs of the past. I guess the more that I think about it, the more that I realize that the new Batman adventures truly is a double-edged sword. You see, as the show became darker, so did the characters. Bruce in the final season is completely different from Bruce in the earlier seasons, with him now looking more angry. Not to mention that all of his relationships with his former teammates became strained, something that I couldn't imagine happening in the earlier seasons, until Robin's reckoning. And the last season led to the darkest timeline possible for him, but it also made it the perfect setup for Batman Beyond. Thankfully, the ending to this story isn't too bad. Terry was able to stop the Joker, and the older version of Tim was able to finally get cured and eventually bury the hatchet with Bruce. And while I still don't like what happened to Tim, it's not like the writing wasn't on the wall. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like, comment, and subscribe. I'm Shanadachi, and I'm out.